Hey, this video is a test review. So looking at the test review, number 1 is the square root of 55 is between which two whole numbers? Well, we know that the square root of 55 is between the square root of 49 and the square root of 64. So the square root of 49 is 7 and the square root of 64 is 8. Next one, square root of 21. It's between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25, which is between 4 and 5. Then the square root of 300 is a little bit tougher. I know that the square root of 400 is 20, so I know it's going to be less than 20. I know this 15 squared is 225, so it's somewhere between 15 and 20. So over on the side of my paper, I would just start with 16. I did 16 times 16 and I ended up getting 256. And then 17 times 17 and I got 289. And 18 times 18 and I got 324. So looking at this, it's between these two. So it's going to be between 17 and 18. Number 4, if a square has an area of 28 feet squared, what is the length of one side of the square? Well, I know to find the area of a square, we do side times side, which is the same as side squared. So I know to find what one side is, the opposite of squaring something is to square root it. So I would do the square root of 28. So that's going to be between the square root of 25 and the square root of 36. So it's going to be approximately 5.3. Next one. Karen was walking from her house to her friend's house, but needed to stop by the library to turn in her overdue library book. On the way home from her friend's house, she went straight home. So we know that on the way there, she went to the library and then to her friend's house. But on the way home, she came straight home. The question says, how much shorter was her trip home than to her friends? So I know to go to her friends the first time, this route, she went 20 feet and then 21 feet. So over here, 20 feet plus 21 feet is 41 feet. That's how much it was on the way there. But on the way back, it was this route. Well, I don't know how many feet that is, but this is a right triangle. So I can do the Pythagorean Theorem. A squared, b squared, c squared. This one is my c squared, or my c leg, my hypotenuse, because it is directly across from my right angle. So now I'm going to fill in my blanks that I know. So I'm going to do 20 squared plus 21 squared equals c squared. 20 squared is 400. 21 squared is 441. So we add those together because they're on the same side. So 841 equals c squared. But I don't really want to know c squared, I want to know c, so I have to do the square root of both sides. So in this case, sorry, I don't know any of these off the top of my head, so I try 28 times 28, let's see, $784, so it's a little too small, so I'll try, well, because I know 30 times 30 is 900, so that's too big. So I'm going to do 29 times 29, I get that, so it's 841 actually, so that's 29, but is that my final answer? I just boxed it in like it was, but no, it's not, because it says how much shorter is that. So we're gonna, it was 41 feet on the way there, minus 29 feet on the way back. So we're going to subtract, and so our answer is actually 12 feet shorter. Using the information from the problem above, find how far Karen walked in all. So going from her house to the library, then to her friend's house, and then back. So we're going to add all of that triangle up. So we know it's 20 plus 21 plus 29. So when we add that up, we get 70 feet she walked in all. This question is a straightforward right triangle shown below. So we know this is a right triangle. Find the value of x, which I didn't label, but it's right here. Leave the answer as a square root. So we're going to do the Pythagorean Theorem. I know that this is my C leg because it's across from the right angle. So it's going to be 4 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. 16 plus 25 equals C squared. So this is going to be 41 equals C squared. So our answer is going to be the square root of 41. Which of the following is closest to the square root of 93? So I know 93 is between the I'll scoot it up on here. It's between the square root of 81 and the square root of 100. So it's between 9 and 10. So it's going to be 9 point something. Well, I know this is closer to 100, so it's going to be 9.6 is the best answer. Which of the following numbers is irrational? Remember, irrational means that it cannot be written as a fraction. The decimal does not repeat or terminate. So obviously we know this one can be written as a fraction because it is a fraction. The square root of 9 is 3, so that terminates that decimal. Pi, and then 3.99. So 3.99, the decimal terminates. So C is irrational pi, which we talked about that pi is irrational. Charity bought a house with a triangular backyard, picture below. She bought a new puppy, so she needs to fence the yard in. How many feet does she need? So if we're going to fence the thing in, we're going to need to know how many feet is all the way around, because we're going to put a fence up, right? So I need to find this side. Well, this is the right angle, so across from it is the C. So I'm going to set it up with like that. So it's going to be x squared plus 16 equals 25. I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides, so I get x squared is 9, so I take the square root of both sides, so I know x is going to be 3. But I'm not done because I have to add up all of the sides, so 3 plus 4 plus 5, and we're going to get 12 feet is what she needs. Next question says, using the information from problem 10, how much would the fence cost? Charity of fencing costs $2.73 per foot. Well, we just found that she needs 12 feet, and we know it's going to cost this much per foot, so we're going to multiply by 2.73, and when you multiply that, so let's go ahead and multiply it. And we get that, and we have 2 decimal places here, so we're going to have 2 down here. So it's going to cost her $32.76, which is really cheap for a fence. Sergio and his son built a birdhouse, and he's going to place it in a tree in their yard. I like this one because we get to draw. So here's the tree. Sergio uses an 8-foot ladder, and the top of the ladder hits the tree at 6 feet. So here's our ladder. And we know it's an 8-foot ladder, so the ladder part is 8 foot. It hits the tree at 6 feet, and it wants to know how far is it. So we have our right triangle right there, and we want to know this. So I know that the latter side is actually the C, because it's across from the right angle. So I have 6 squared plus x squared equals 8 squared. So I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. I get that. And then I need to square root both sides. So I'm going to look for the square root of 28, which I know is bigger than 5 because it's between the square root of 25 and the square root of 36. So I tried several and I got approximately 5.3. Because see how it says leave your answer to square root and then estimate the square root to the nearest tenth, so that's what I did. Square root of 130 is between 11 and 12 because it's between the square root of 121 and square root of 144. Square root of 72 is between 8 and 9 because it's between the square root of 64 and the square root of 81. Grant is the catcher on his softball team. He knows the distance from each plate is 70 feet. So we're going to say approximately how far is his throw from home plate to second base. So we're going to set up the Pythagorean Theorem. This is our right angle. That's green and you can't see it. There's our right angle. So across from here, this is our C. So we have 70 squared plus 70 squared equals C squared. So 70 squared is that plus. When you add that together, you get that. Now we have to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of 9,800. So here's the deal. I know that 100 times 100 is like this. That much, so that's too big. So over here I'm going to try 99 times 99. And whenever I did, I got that, which is really close to that. So I'm going to call it approximately 99 feet, which is a pretty far throw. This one's pretty blurry for me, but it's not so bad for you. Suitcase measures 24 inches long, so this part is 24, and 18 inches high, and it wants to know the diagonal. So actually I should have drawn it the diagonal the other way. Like that. To make it easier for me. So that's the C, because that's the right angle, so across from it's the C. So we're going to go 18 squared plus 24 squared equals C squared. But I'm just going to tell you, these are all in inches. But the answer wants to be in feet. So actually, before I do the Pythagorean Theorem, I am going to change it to feet, because I think it'll make the Pythagorean Theorem easier. So 18 is 1.5 squared, and then 24 would be 2 feet. So now 1.5 times 1.5 is 2.25, and that's 4 equals C squared, so it's going to be 6.25 equals C squared, so it's going to be 2.5 feet. Number 17. To get from point A to point B, you must avoid walking through the pond. To avoid the pond, you must walk 34 meters south and 41 meters east to the nearest meter. How many meters would be saved if it was possible to walk through the pond? This is a way a lot of surveyors actually use the Pythagorean Theorem all the time to measure distance across ponds and stuff like that. But anyway, so we're missing our C, because it's across from the right angle, so we know it's missing. So we're going to do 34 squared plus 41 squared equals c squared. Right now, to go around the pond, it would be 34 plus 41. So it's 75 meters to go around the pond. So let's see if we can find how much this distance is and then subtract it from that. So this is 1,156, 1,681. When we add that up, we get, and then we take the square root, and when I take the square root of that, I get approximately 53. So now I'm going to do 75 minus 53, and I got 22. Because remember, the question's asking how much did they save by walking through the pond. Number 18, Oscar's doghouse is shaped like a tent. The slanted sides are both 5 feet long, and the bottom of the house is 6 feet across. What's the height of the doghouse? So if the total distance across is 6, then I know from, that's hard to see, this part right here is half of 6, which is 3. So I'm actually only looking at this triangle right here, and we're looking for the height. So 5 is the c, because it's across from the right angle. So 3 squared plus x squared equals 5 squared. So this is 9. We subtract the 9, and we get 16. Then we take the square root, and we get 4. So it's 4 feet. Which, remember I told you guys 3, 4, 5 is one of the most common Pythagorean triangles, so that one was a 3, 4, 5. The last few questions all use this diagram. So number 19 says, what is the length of the triangle side labeled A? Well, if we know the area of this whole square is 25, then we can find the side length by taking the square root of 25, which is 5 feet. What is the length of the triangle side labeled B? Well, it's the same thing. We're going to take the square root of the area, and that'll give us the one side length. So it's the square root of 144, which is 12. So then, I'm going to have to, zoom out a little bit. The length of the triangle side labeled C. Well, we just discovered that this is 5, this is 12, but I don't know C. So obviously C is the C, so we do 5 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. That's 25 plus 144 equals C squared. We add these together because it's on the same side of the equal sign. So I get that. So now I have to do the square root of both sides. So I get 13 equals C. So the side is 13. Now it asks for the area of square C. Well, the area of a square is a side times a side, so that would be 13 times 13. So we're going to get 169. What is the perimeter of the triangle? So to do perimeter, we add all the sides. So we're going to get 30 feet. What's the area of the triangle? So to find the area of a triangle, your best friend tells you that's 1/2 base times height. So when you see a right triangle, the base is here, the height is here. So we don't use the hypotenuse at all when we do the area of a triangle. We use the A and the B. So it's going to be 1/2 12 times 5. I know half of 12 is 6, so I'm going to have 6 times 5, which is 30 feet squared. So that's just ironic that the perimeter and the area end up being the same. But do you see how my labels are different? Because this is feet squared. Because remember, perimeter is in feet, area is in feet squared. Last question says, with what kind of triangle can you use the Pythagorean theorem? We can only use it with right triangles. only right triangles. Alright, so there's your review answers. Good luck studying.